Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and you're with us here at the Dice Tower. And I just realized I think I left it on the other computer, so I'm going to go shut that sound off before I regret that. All right, no problem. Anyway, we're back here, and I don't normally do Q&As on Saturdays, but I do them normally because I'm doing it today because just Monday was such a busy day. I was out of town, went up to cool stuff. So anyhow, if this is your first time with us, my name's Tom Vasel. I'm the president of the Dice Tower, and I do a weekly Q&A. And it just today happens to be Saturday. I'm not in London yet. We are leaving for London on Monday. We will arrive in London on Tuesday. It is an overnight flight. So normally I also have a Q&A link in the description, but I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm just going to be taking questions from the YouTube for ease. So I'm just basically going to start with questions that start coming in now. So if you asked them earlier, I apologize. So let's get started here. How do you feel about making up house rules for a game, especially if it changes the game a lot? I don't, unless I think that the game really desperately needs them, or minor house rules. But again, it's a very specific case-by-case thing. If I have a game that I love and I go somewhere and people are like, well, we always play it this way. No, I don't want to play it that way if I already love the game. You know, I'm always very wary of house rules, I think. What Time Stories themed module expansion would get you the most excited? Another one. I like all the themes. I'm glad with any of the themes because it's one theme and it's fun to get involved in that theme. Day of the Tentacle crossover. I don't even understand that. I don't see how Day of the Tentacle would cross over with Time Stories. I like that Time Stories is its own universe. What was in that big box that was delivered earlier this week? I'll be doing a review on that in a couple weeks. Some people were guessing that it was the Kickstarter stuff. That would be really weird if all the Kickstarter stuff was in one box. But all the Kickstarter stuff is being sent to Cool Stuff. In fact, that's where I was this Monday, was driving up to Orlando. It's about 4 hours from my house. Driving up there and dropping off a lot of the stuff from the Kickstarter to my house. We are missing like 4 things from the Kickstarter at this point, so we're just waiting on those things to show up, and then we'll get then stuff will start getting shipped out. How did you learn to speed read? You know, I don't know. I just started reading as a kid. I've said this before, but my parents did not have a TV. Well, they had a TV, I think, when I was a very young child. I remember my mom watching soap operas, maybe, but they decided that TV was rotting the brain type thing. And so we didn't have a TV my entire childhood. The first time I owned a TV was after I got married. And not having a TV, one entertainment. Computers were just coming in. So I read, and 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 I loved reading. We'd go to the library. My parents would let us pick 5 books per kid. So there were 5 of us kids, so that's 25 books, and I would read all my books. I'd read, and I'd also read the next 2 kids, my sister and my brother, the 2 older ones. I'd read all their books. I'd read the kids' books. I'd read the books my dad got. He'd get books on like World War II and stuff. I read everything. Any book we had in the house, I read it. I would read boring books just because I wanted to read. So I just read. So that's how, I mean, I don't mean to be flippant. I just sped read because I read a lot. Is June still looking good for sending out the Dice Tower promos from the Kickstarter? June is looking very good for sending out many of the promos. There's one promo in particular that is being delayed, so I may not get that one until July, but we'll see, and I'll announce when we do. But I feel like a lot of the promos will be shipped in June. I saw that Food Chain Magnate was back in stock and was considering buying it, so I saw the 100 price tag. Why is this game so expensive? In my opinion, the components weren't mind-blowing, says Sam. Well, that's true, but it's a simple issue of supply and demand. There's not many of these games, and people really, really want it, so that's why it's expensive. Is it worth it? I still haven't played it, so I don't know. What's my favorite micro game? Welcome to the Dungeon, maybe? Is that if that counts as a micro game, I would say Welcome to the Dungeon. What happened to the podcast on Tuesday? The People's Choice wasn't in it, and it's mislabeled on the website. Huh, I didn't realize it was mislabeled on the website. Let me go look that up right now. I can tell you what the People's Choice wasn't in it because I missed that section somehow. So I'm going to include that section in the podcast going out this Tuesday. So I don't want to mess up the People's Choice. So let's see here. I can pull these up. 459, amazing card art. Doesn't look like it's mislabeled to me. It looks like it's labeled correctly. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but the stuff that's missing, I did it on the road too, and that's part of the reason. It wasn't Eric, it was all me. Let's see here. Is Geordie LaForge your favorite Next Generation character? No, my favorite Next Generation character easily was Data. I like Geordie. I mean, one of the reasons I liked Next Generation was I really liked all the characters. I didn't really like Patrick Stewart that much. Not Patrick Stewart. I didn't like Picard. Patrick Stewart's fine. Picard, because I always felt like he was a know-it-all, I'm always right type guy. And as the series went on, I liked him more and more. But I was always like, when he and Riker would argue, I'd be like, I go with Riker. But I just liked Data because I thought the whole robot thing was cool. I liked Worf. I really liked all the characters. Has anyone from the Dice Tower crew played in an X-Wing tournament? I don't think so. We mostly play casually. Any funny stories about the filming of the top 10 list you could share that weren't seen on the videos? You know, we don't do a ton of editing on those. We don't often make many we make mistakes, but we don't often like stop and re-record. It happens occasionally. There's the not funny one where we deleted an entire top 10. Those guys forgive me for that one. That was kind of a stupid one, a stupid mistake to make. But that was my fault. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. If there's a funny moment, we will keep it and put it in our blooper reel. I feel like there is going to be a lot of questions about the live play last Saturday. Certainly, I got a lot of emails and a lot of comments on it. I'll be making a more public statement on that in a couple days about the future of our live plays and such, but I am reading every comment and I am reading every email sent to me about this. I am not blind or anything. I certainly know the response to our live playthroughs last Saturday. So we'll more on that forthcoming, just not in this Q&A. Why is the FAQ not on your website? Why is there not even a link? I guess I should do that. I don't have my list on me right now. Hopefully I remember to do it. If I don't, in a couple days, email me and I'll add it to my list of things to do. What is your method for learning new games? Playing through them solo at first or dive into it with multiple people? Diving into it with multiple people, although I don't recommend the way I do it to most people. I kind of open up the rule book and we go from there. But I do warn those that I play with that that's what we're about to do. What production product are you most proud of? I said this before. The thing I'm most proud of is we did a short skit at the beginning of one of my top 100 lists. It was either 2013 maybe or 2012, I think. And that was where it was one of the first times we had Z on camera and Eric did a voiceover. And because it was part of my introduction to my top 100, a lot of people missed it, but I was really happy with that. I've always liked my Apology for Vasco da Gama. I've always liked my How to Play Games with Kids videos. Those are the things I like the best. I'm pretty happy with many of the things that we're putting out now. Board Game Breakfast, I'm happy with. I know we still make mistakes in it, and we still, there's some things that could be improved in it, but I'm getting happier and happier with our productions that we put out. In fact, I'm really tired right now because I lugged the camera today all around Miami Zoo in that heat, and Miami Zoo is a lot of walking, but it's good for me to do that, and I'm really glad. But those outside videos just pop on the new camera. The audio, we're still working on it, but hopefully you can. I'm really trying to learn how to work with this audio and get these mics working. Like even now, I think I have this mic at the right setting for the Q&A. So if we learn these things and work with them, and we really are striving to make everything better, and this is certainly a growth period. We're getting a lot of comments about audio and this and mistake and that mistake, and we certainly hear you, and we are trying to make them better each time so that everything we do we can be proud of. When is Throat Punch lunch starting? I will let Sam make that announcement. I know it's soon. It is not this coming week. That's all I know. He told me, and I've forgotten. What games have you had to review that were a hard sell to get people to play with you? Oh, there's a lot of games. Whenever the game is a bad-looking, I call them Kickstarter-looking style games, and people are like, oh, it doesn't look good. I'm like, yeah, I know it doesn't look good, but try it, guys. Come on, it might be good. 2 out of 3 times, it's not. In the early days before you got sent games for free, ha-ha. Yes, I agree with the ha-ha part. Freedom isn't free. Games aren't free when you're reviewing them. But anyway, did I ever do board game trading math trades? Yeah, I did. And if so, what's the best trade you've ever made? The best trade I ever made was way back at the beginning when I had a huge Eldar army, like 10,000 points of Eldar, maybe it was 20,000 points. It was a lot of points. And I traded that entire army to designer Richard Borg in exchange for a whole pile of games from him, mostly games that he designed, but not some that he didn't design. And that was the best trade I've ever made. That was great. I also traded somebody a whole pile of Mage Knight figures for a whole pile of games, including Cosmic Encounter from Mayfair. That was also a great trade. Disliked Picard. I've lost a viewer. I'm very sorry. Again, remembering I'm not disliking the actor, and I said I grew to like him as time went by. His natural dislike for children really bugged me, because at that point in time when I was watching it, I was a teenager, and it irritated me that he so obviously disliked teenagers. And I was like, wow. Now, as time went by, he learned to tolerate children, I guess, and teenagers, but that just bugged me as a kid. So I never had this great affinity towards him, while Data just seemed cool. Trevin says, I hate this box as the title for this episode. Do you mean the video episode? Because I'm not seeing it on the audio one. I'm seeing Amazing Card Art as the audio one. Let me look through the video manager for the Dice Tower as we go back down. The Dice Tower episode. I'm sure this is extremely fascinating viewing for everybody. 459 works of art. I'm still not seeing where the error is. Sorry. All right, what are your favorite? Let's see, I already talked. Blah, blah, blah. Oh wow! Apparently, I have. Got a lot of people messed over by saying I didn't like Picard. I apologize on that. I am not saying anything against Patrick Stewart. I think he's an amazing actor. And again, I'm just not going to... Okay, anyway. I'm not saying Kirk is my favorite. I think I like Sisko the best, actually. But what is your funniest rage quit you've witnessed or have experienced yourself? I don't know that I've ever seen a rage quit that I thought was funny. Usually it happens and everyone's super awkward and like, all right, let's move on. I don't know if I've ever seen one that was funny. A lot of people ask questions about like what should I do for live playthroughs and for YouTube and all that, and it's going to be different for everybody. If you notice, we moved up. My very first YouTubes were done with my webcam on my computer, and I would not even dare use that today. And then I just picked a camera and it worked, and then I kept progressing upwards through cameras. We are going to be doing a whole session on this at Gen Con, me and Rodney Smith and Jamie from Secret Cabal, and we'll be recording that and I'll be posting that on this channel. So hopefully that will answer a lot of those questions too. Since Roll for the Galaxy has come out, have you played Race for the Galaxy? I have. I do still really like Race for the Galaxy. What game mechanic do you dislike the most? Totally open-ended auctions, maybe? Oh, artificial catch-up mechanisms. Sorry, never mind. Artificial catch-up mechanisms, I really, really don't like them. I always like Honor Harrington. I do too, but I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. All right. I know that you've watched Rhett and Link every now and then. Did you see them play Mad Gab this week? I did not, but I haven't watched Rhett and Link for quite a while. Just been really busy. Once we get to April all the way through August, it's just kind of all hands on deck all the time here. Like this past week, I've recorded 20 reviews. Well, I'm not even done yet. I got pieces of one sitting right here that I'm in the middle of recording. Because I'm doing everything for this coming week while I'll be gone. Then when we get back, we got to record double videos again another week, because then the following week will be at Origins. And then after Origins, there's 2 weeks, and then Dice Tower Con. And then 3 weeks after Dice Tower Con, Gen Con. Now after Gen Con, there's some breathing room. But still. Do you play games on the plane on a trip to England? If so, what would you play? Yes, I plan to play Final Fantasy IX, since that is out now for the iPad. Top 10 salty snacks? Well, the salted almonds. I'm really getting on this nut kick. I like salted almonds and salted cashews. They're certainly in my top 10. Or salted nuts in general. I just like nuts. Although, if they have no salt, I'm also very happy with that. In fact, I'd probably take no salt over salt, but I do like Pringles a lot. I like deep fried potato chips, especially when they're in peanut oil. Pretzels, of course. Pretzels are amazing. Pretzel sticks, pretzel logs, pretzels with the peanut butter inside. Better cheddars, vegetable crackers, chicken and a biscuit crackers. Yeah, I'm going to go with those for now. That's probably not even 10. Sorry. Have you watched any Studio Ghibli films? And if so, which is your favorite? I've watched many of them. I have not watched all of them. I really have not seen one that I disliked. I just really love them. I know that Princess Mononoke is probably considered to be the best of the lot, and I really like it, but Spirited Away just catches me. It's an Alice in Wonderland type feel to this movie. It's a whole like another world that's behind our world. It's intriguing. None of the characters are totally bad. It's a nice meandering plot. There's some really cool things that happen. It's fantastical. It shows this girl grow as the story goes by. The art is amazing. The voice work for the US version I thought was really well done. I just really like it. But I like Kiki's Delivery Service. I like the underwater one, which is escaping my mind. I enjoyed the guy whose face looked like a pig. All these names are slipping me, but I just like them. They're stories that really resonate. So if I get a chance to watch it, I usually will. And I'm sad that they're not making any more because they were amazing movies. I'm impressed by Tom's The Next Generation knowledge, even though in the Frontiers review he mentioned not knowing everything. Well, I do not know everything, and I found that if there is, in many different hobbies, right, or nerd realms, you got to be really cautious because people might correct you on your things. Like, I feel like I know more about Star Wars than 95% of people on Earth, but still, there are people who know a lot more than me. But I found that with Star Trek more than any other, there's so many different characters, so many shows, and I'll say something and then I usually get like a sniff from somebody like, really? It's pronounced Romulan, or, well, Romulan's an easy one, but you know what I mean? They pronounce, well, I didn't know that. I just call that the green-skinned alien, but he has a race. So I'm always very cautious when I talk about Star Trek. I mean, I still remember when I did the Heroescape review and I got emails from people correcting me on my pronunciation of a made-up game. There was not even any audio on this game. There's nothing. I don't even know how people know how these names are pronounced. People are like, can you believe how he pronounced that? I'm like, are you kidding? The only place to learn how to pronounce this is like here on the card. Where are we getting these actual real pronunciations from? And people are getting mad about these made-up names. So I'm a little gun-shy about that, I suppose. As you guys know, I already tend to butcher the English language as it is. Made-up language, yeah, I commit linguicide. Linguistic side, I guess is the word. Do you have any thoughts on the Plague Incorporated Kickstarter? Yeah, I backed it. I don't normally back games. And Z said, hey, that computer game or that iOS game you play all the time as a board game. And I was like, what? So I looked it up, and I now understand how people will back Dark Souls, the board game, and these other board games, because I played Plague Incorporated. I played it for like 10 years. It used to be called Pandemic on the internet. And then they brought in Plague Incorporated, and I don't know. I don't mean to be someone who likes to destroy humanity as a plague, but I really like it. I've played that game so many times. It's so fun, and so as soon as I saw it was a board game, I was like, boop, backed. Very rarely back games. I back maybe 1 or 2 Kickstarter games a year. So that's 1 for 2016. How is the second channel doing? Will there be more test videos soon? There probably will not be any more test videos. You'll know about the second channel when it launches. We are currently at 2 videos are done. So it's not going as fast as I want it to be. I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games are lined up to be reviewed for that channel. I have very specific types of games that I'm going to be reviewing on that channel. And again, it was just a crush of pre-UK, pre-Origins. I had hoped to launch a channel at Origins. Now I think Gen Con is a much more reasonable time to launch it. Can you recall when you had an affinity for dice? What hooked you? Ah, man, I wouldn't know what would. I remember as a kid that Popper in Trouble. I thought that was an amazing thing. I remember the first time I saw multi-sided dice. My friend had them. I was like, what are these? And you're like, oh, these are used for Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not supposed to talk about that game. But I was fascinated by the dice. Like, well, can't those dice be used for other things? And then I didn't see those dice till many years later. I remember that I think one of the first times I saw multi-sided dice was Formula D when it came out. And I was like, what? You can use dice for other things than D&D? It's very exciting. Did anyone ever question your board game hobby? Oh, yeah, many times. I've taken flack for it. I don't get flack for it anymore at all, really, because it's my job, and it's more of a, people are like, oh, that's really cool, and no one really, I'll come in the room and be like, look at this, and I forget sometimes, like, I'll be like, there's not that many games here, because I've seen, like I said, in here in Miami, there's probably 10, 15 people with bigger collections than me, so I don't think I have this big collection, but someone new comes over, they're like, but again, I don't get garbage because it's my job. But before it was my job, all the time. And I would have arguments with people and say, "Look, you have 200 DVDs. How is this any different?" Oh well, and I would get in arguments with people, but that's a long time ago. Was Quicksilver's sequence better in the new movie or in his first appearance? Better in the new movie. I watched X-Men Apocalypse last night with my kids. We actually took some time. I was like, oh, I want to go see X-Men Apocalypse with the kids. Oh, but they haven't seen the last one yet, Days of Future Past. So I sat them down and we watched that one first. And then as soon as it was over, I was like, get in the car. We got in the car and drove, watched the other one. So we watched them back to back. And we even watched the road cut, which was a pretty big chunk. But I went into the new one. I had heard some vague rumors that the reviews were bad. And it wasn't a Avengers movie by any means, but it wasn't Batman versus Superman either. There are a lot of sequences in the movie. I like the Quicksilver stuff. Quicksilver himself was my favorite person in the movie, probably. But I thought they did a good job. Apocalypse was okay. He's one of my favorite villains, and he was kind of okay in this one. But his four horsemen were kind of cool. And I'm not trying to spoil anything in the movie, but there was a lot of cool sequences that I really enjoyed. But Quicksilver, for me, was the star of the movie. I would have gone... The Quicksilver sequence in the movie was worth the price of admission alone, and I really liked the one in Days of Future Past, but this one was much, much better, I thought. Um, well, guys, I'm really sorry. This is one of the reasons I like using the Q&A link, because every once in a while YouTube will shoot it all the way to the bottom, and then I have to scroll all the way back up, and then I find out just how many questions. If your show is based around breakfast and Sam's is based around lunch, what does that make Z's show? Brunch, dinner, afternoon tea? I believe his show is blender, and I believe a blended drink you can drink any time of day. What deluxe version of a game would you like to own? Not many, really. I have some of my versions blinged out, but usually the deluxe versions of the games that I get, I donate to the Dice Tower Convention, because I think that's the best place to play deluxe versions. Question, it's almost June. What games will be released that you are most looking forward to? This year is seeming to pale in comparison to last year. And every single May, June, people say the same exact thing. Oh, this year is nothing compared to last year. And that's because all the great games are released in August, September, October, and some even in November. So I have no idea. I still don't know what games are being released at Gen Con. I have no clue what games are being released at Essen. This may be an amazing year. This may be a mediocre year, but not until Gen Con hits do I even start trying to gauge the year. It seems, I'm just making numbers up here, but I would say 80 to 90% of games come out after Gen Con and after, that come out over the course of the year. Very few come out before then that make any kind of sizable splash. I think after Origins, I'll have a better knowledge because of the Origins previews. We'll be going over a lot of different games there that are coming out at Gen Con, so we'll know more. Did you ever upgrade your Robinson Crusoe cubes to be little resource bits or whatnot? I don't think I have upgraded Robinson Crusoe. I'll have to pull it out and look. But before we record our Robinson Crusoe game, which we're going to play at Dice Tower Con, I'm going to do that. Have I ever refused to review a game based on the component quality? Definitely. I voted some games up and I was like, no, garbage, no, not even looking at this game. I don't know names. I know people ask, well, what games are it? I don't remember, but there are some games I'm like, no, not happening. That's just awful. Can you give an example of an artificial catch-up mechanics? I'm not clear what that would be. Here's one. In Age of Steam, depending on where you are on the scoring track, you go back a certain number of spaces. So if you're like really far, you go back 8, while the people behind will go back 2. That just drives me nuts. You go back more because you're doing well, and you go back less because you're not doing as well. That just bothers me. There are some games where it'll be like, the person in the lead loses some points, a card. It's like the blue shell from Mario, something like that. The blue shell is an artificial catch-up mechanism. How excited are you for Dominion Empires? I'm excited with a period. I've been reading a lot of the previews, and it seems like they are just making the game more complex with a lot of these cards, and I don't know that it needed to be made more complex. Is this on the Dice Tower webpage where we have made an error? Ah. Well, that is not me who made that mistake, but we'll get that one fixed. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll send an email out immediately. I'm not, maybe that is my fault though, I don't know. Maybe it pulled it from the tags of it? I don't know what happened here. But anyway, my apologies. We'll get it fixed. Okay, so back to where we were. Let's see here. If we want to donate to the Dice Tower and the Kickstarter is still too far away, how would we go about doing so? Well, there's Sheriff of Nottingham packs that you could donate to on the to get on our website, and at conventions and stuff. That's what we have right now. We'll have leftover stuff from this Kickstarter available, but I don't put that up on the internet until the Kickstarter rewards have been sent out. So that's basically the ways to do it. But I appreciate the question. Go play disc golf this weekend. I've been wanting to play disc golf, but we just haven't found a place that's really close enough to our house that we can do that too. Let's see. Have you ever played viticulture using the extended cheese and or oil tomato sauce boards? No, yeah, I have. I'm not a real big fan of that. It's one of my lesser. It was okay. It wasn't. I didn't need that much more stuff, honestly. It didn't make the game much better. It was okay. What's your current favorite superhero movie of all time? It's kind of a toss-up. I want to say Guardians of the Galaxy, probably. Guardians of the Galaxy. But I do like Avengers 1, and I also like Captain America 1 a lot. So I also like Winter Soldier and Captain America 3 and Avengers 2 and Iron Man's, and I like all that whole series. But if you ask me like what are your top 10 favorite superhero movies of all time, it would probably be Marvel across the board. I know that there's other good superhero movies, but for me it would be all those Marvel movies. Was Pie in the Face planned as the last game for the gaming marathon? It looked delicious. Definitely was planned to be the last game, although I thought it was hilarious that some people said, "Oh, you guys, it's disgusting. You're fat." I think I had like this much whipped cream in my mouth. The rest of it was all over our face that we were wiping off. I just thought it was funny that somebody like wrote in like health tips on not to use whipped cream. And I'm very sorry we were such piggish people there. Ponyo and Porco Rosso. Yes, those are the names. Thoughts on the idea that Captain America is now a Nazi? I don't know because I read Marvel Unlimited, which is a monthly subscription service, and they're 6 months behind. So I'm still reading the Sam Falcon as Captain America comics that he's just starting into, and I'm enjoying those. If he's a Nazi, first of all, whatever. For Marvel, it has to be more than a year for it to be anything that matters, right? Spider-Man's mind was taken over by Dr. Octopus, and they're like, no, that's permanent. No, it wasn't. Professor X is dead currently. That's permanent. Well, he's been dead for a couple of years, but he'll be back. It's just going to happen, right? Will they keep this? Is it real? Is he a double agent? I'm not going to get mad about any of this until like a year. If they're going to still insist on it, then at that time I might be annoyed because if Captain America is a Nazi, then it invalidates Civil War. It invalidates the Skrull invasion. It invalidates, like, the movie Captain America Winter Soldier. If he was Hydra, isn't that movie, like, totally invalidated? So whatever. I don't care right now, but if they do insist on going down this route, it cheapens all the older stuff that we've read. But again, it's Marvel. They change like the wind. one of the things I found fascinating, and this is slight spoilers, and I don't mean to be that way. I'm not a huge Game of Thrones fan. A lot of people are, but I watched Game of Thrones. I watch it because it's intriguing, and I like to see great sword fights and dragons and all that jazz. The episode of Game of Thrones last Sunday was one of the most amazing moments I've seen in TV where it hit me in the gut. I mean, I was just like casually watching, and then I was like, wow. And it hit me in the gut, and it was amazing and surprising and felt like it was something that had been planned for, and I insist that it was, since the beginning of the series. That sort of thing always impresses me. Captain America then deciding now that he's a Hydra, that stuff never impresses me because you have to go back and, you're rewriting the history and retconning things, and that doesn't impress me as much. But when you plan ahead, that sort of thing always fascinates me. But Game of Thrones is not something I would say is one of my favorite series, just because I don't agree with a lot of I don't like gray characters that much. I like to see good guys fight bad guys and then good guys win, which does not happen in that show very often. But it was a great moment, and that is one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. I would probably put my top 10 episodes because I thought about it for a really long time that night, and then on Monday I watched it again, and it hit me just as much the next day. I was so surprised by that. I love being genuinely surprised and saddened that it was good. It doesn't happen very much, but there's a lot of TV things that I roll my eyes. I can't believe that happened. I did not roll my eyes that time. All right. The Nerd Realm character. What Nerd Realm characters do me, Sam, Z, and Jason excel? Well, Jason excels in movies. He knows a lot about movies. I actually don't know with Z. I excel in Marvel, probably in Marvel Comics. Sam, definitely Star Wars. Yeah, I feel like I could wade into a fight of Marvel. That would be the only one I feel super confident on. I mean, I could do okay in Star Wars, but I think there's a lot of people who are better at Star Wars than me. What other nerd cultures? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot about it. I know a little about a lot. I don't know as much about a lot about a little, I guess would be the thing. Reminds me of the Spider-Man clone debacle. But what's interesting about the Spider-Man clone thing was I hated that storyline as much as everybody else did. But as the storyline went on, I started really liking Ben Reilly and the Scarlet Spider. And it was really cool. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm coming around on this guy. I'm coming around on this. And then they're like, nope, pull the rug out. Sorry. I was like, what? You guys went to all this work, and I'm learning to like this? And then you're like, nope. I mean, everyone always says nerd rage, but I think it's acceptable to be like annoyed when you're reading a series and something happens you don't like. I think that's okay to be annoyed as long as it doesn't ruin your life or ruin your day. And there's been sometimes that Marvel comics have irritated me, and I would say the reversing of the Clone Wars was probably one that annoyed me, but not as much as One More Day or Brand New Day from Spider-Man. That one still is my least. I'm still not happy with their decision to do that. And just, again, spoilers for not 10-year-old comic, but it's pretty close 10-year-old comic. So fast forward if you don't want to hear this. But essentially what they did was Spider-Man's, this was right after Civil War, his aunt got shot. And to save her life, Mephisto came up and made a deal that he would save her life if it was as if Peter Parker and Mary Jane had never met, never fell in love, never been married. Spider-Man agreed, and so boom, they erased their marriage and their love. Well, it was, I don't know exactly what they erased, but they erased the fact that they were married. So that way now Spider-Man can date. Yay! Idiotic. Top 10 ice cream or frozen yogurt toppings. What? What? Okay. Malt. This is in no particular order. Cookie dough, raspberries, blackberries, and I'm including raspberry syrup and blackberry syrup in there. White chocolate, caramel, and butterscotch. I know that some people are really good and can tell the difference between the two of those, but they seem very similar to me. Chocolate chips, mini Reese's Pieces, crunched up Oreos, waffle cone bits, cinnamon hearts. Nerds are good in ice cream. Okay, let's see here. Is there another game distributor besides ACD and Alliance? Oh, yes. There's the biggest is Alliance, and I think the second biggest would be GTS distribution. Then there is, you mentioned ACD. There's PSD, PHS, I forget them. Southern Hobby distributor. Those, I believe, are the 5 biggest. Flash season finale was so good. Are you watching it? I'm not, but I heard my girls yelling, screaming, laughing, and crying all in the same episode, so I guess it was pretty interesting. But they really like Flash. What are you looking forward to the most for the Dice Tower Cruise? I'm just looking forward to it to happen. I'm looking forward to being able to spend quality time with fans, and I think I'll be able to do that in the Dice Tower Cruise more than anyone else, and have my family with me. I think that's exciting for me. I look forward to this being like a launching stone to eventually us having a whole ship for Dice Tower Cruise, which is like this dream that I have, like a ship, and everybody on the ship is a gamer. That's a fascinating dream, except I think this dream could actually happen. And this is like step 1. But I'm just looking forward to just hanging out with people, really. Have I done anything to bling out my copy of Eldritch Horror? Yes. Fantasy Flight made some monsters, some actual miniature painted monsters for Arkham Horror, and I went out and hunted them down and got them all. Now, they don't match up with Eldritch Horror exactly. Some of them do, some of them don't, but when I have a monster, I put those out. I also went and got most of the investigators. I didn't get them all because they're super expensive, but I hunted down the ones that were in the base Eldritch Horror game, and then for the first expansion, and I don't have all the heroes, but I have many of them, and then I also bought some things from Litco, some gate pieces and things like that. Yeah, it's kind of blinged out. I really like my Eldritch Horror copy. The new playthrough of Time Stories is going up this coming week. Let's see here. Have I played Reiner Knizia's Ivanhoe? Yes, but a really long time ago. So I don't remember a whole lot about it. Is there a place to buy Dice Tower apparel? Yeah, if you go to our website and dicetower.com and you go to the, let's see, the Dice Tower first link, underneath it there's a link that says Dice Tower t-shirts. So you can go there. Let's see here. Thoughts on the new Time Story set in Antarctica during World War I? Yeah. Can you say The Thing? Definitely. That one sounds cool. What's your opinion of my Motainai? I really did not like it. However, I think I just had a bad play of it, and I just haven't got it back to the table since. That's why I haven't reviewed it. Sorry. I hear that the audio is slightly out of sync now. I apologize for that. Well, this might work. Let's find out. Well, I don't know if I went off there or not. I started streaming. I stopped and reset everything and then started it right up again. And I don't know if that worked or not. We'll find out soon enough. Okay, let's see here. Where do you order delivery from in Miami tonight? I don't know. I live in Homestead, not Miami, so I would not order delivery in Miami. And unfortunately, I can't help you there. Although, if you were coming to Miami, you should have told us. Maybe we could have hooked up and played games. Let's see. Do you expect to redo top 10 list? Oh, yes. We're going to redo top 10 lists, but I like to let them sit around for a while before we redo them. So far, we've only redone one in the video section, and that was cooperative games. We're going to redo our top 10 essential games that every gamer should own list, but I want to let that one hit 1 million views left. I apologize. Let me have that one small vanity of having one video that hits 1 million views. If I play 20 games in a week, how many of those games are strictly for entertainment as opposed to work? 0.5. That's probably right. So it is what it is. However, I have fun playing the games for work, so it doesn't bother me. What is my favorite celestial body? Mars, probably. I always thought, well, no, Jupiter. I think Jupiter's really cool. I want to catch up on comics to better understand Secret Wars from Marvel Legendary. I really like Marvel Comics, and I will say Secret Wars, the newest one, is the most confusing, convoluted storyline that's ever done. I believe I've read almost all of it, and I still do not understand everything that happened in that storyline, and they need to stop doing that ridiculous nonsense. The first one was easy. A guy grabbed a bunch of heroes, grabbed a bunch of villains, threw them together to see what would happen. And then storylines came out of that, and some betrayed each other. And there was complexity, but this newest one, nonsense. Definitely one of my least favorite crossovers of all time. There was some cool fights and sequences in it, but for the most part, blah. Blah. And I can't even tell the ramifications from it afterwards. It's super confusing. I mean, the Fantastic Four is on vacation for who knows how long, but whatever. I feel like I'm talking more about comic books today than I am about board games, but that's probably okay. Do you ever use the Alvin and Dexter expansion for Ticket to Ride? I haven't for a really long time. I still have it, and I would use it, and I might use it, but when I play Ticket to Ride, I often I either play on the computer, which doesn't have that monster expansion on it that I can think of, or I play with one of the new maps, and I don't dare use Alvin and Dexter on those. Tom, talk to the guys and girls at Disc Golf Center. Disc Golf Center is affiliate with CSI, and they'll set you up with discs and place to play. Well, no joke on that first part. I know that. The owner of Cool Stuff is a huge disc golfer. In fact, gave my family many discs to go play with. We just haven't found a course near us that seems to be in repair. That's close enough. There's ones up in Miami, but that's more of a distance to drive. Let's see here. Remember, I don't answer every question that gets sent to me. Is Plaid Hat leaving the podcast section of the Dice Tower? Yeah, they are. We go through some reworkings every once in a while, and so I ask all the podcasts, do you want to stay in it or not? Plaid Hat said that they want it to leave, and nothing bad. We're on very good terms with them, but they wanted to have a less... they want their show to be less family-friendly, if you want to be, and not have to worry about that sort of thing. And also, they're very focused on their publisher, and so they didn't want any kind of conflict there. So that is why they're on their own. But we're still good friends. I don't know how to describe that. They're a friend of the Dice Tower Network. I also dropped Dice Tower Showdown from the podcasting pages currently. Have you ever read any manga? I have, but I'm not a real big fan of it. Not saying it's bad. It's just not my style, that's all. Let's see here. What's my favorite character from Red Dragon Inn? I don't play. I don't think I've ever played Red Dragon Inn actually. Barbecue grilling charcoal, do you use gas? Charcoal. However, even though I'm super adamant on charcoal, and I really think charcoal tastes better than gas, and I know I'm right on that because it's the way I was raised and that's the grill I have. One of these days I'm going to break down and get a gas grill, if only for the fact that I like to be able to grill over a long extended period of time while charcoal gets hot. It's there, we grill, we got to get it done. While with a gas grill, I can grill for like an hour and a half, and I can grill meat for the whole week, and it doesn't have a rise and fall like charcoal. But charcoal does taste better. To me, there's no comparison. Um, oh, this guy said no one else cares about that question. Well, I guess I cared enough to answer it. Favorite rock band? Queen. Let's see. How would you react if someone got the Dice Tower logo as a tattoo? I would be like, are you sure? See, I've never been a huge fan of tattoos. I think people have cool tattoos, and I'm like, you shouldn't get a tattoo, but I encourage my kids to think about the tattoos for a really long time, because tattoos they're not forever, but they're pretty close to forever, right? And they're certainly very difficult to reverse. So if you're going to get a tattoo, you really want to think about the ramifications of getting that. Will you still like whatever you got a tattoo of in 10, 15 years? How will that tattoo look like in 10, 15 years? Will that affect the way people look at you? Those are just things I think to think about, because, I wear stupid, crazy hats, right? And a lot of people don't like my hats, but the cool thing about my hat is I can do this, right? You can't do that with a tattoo. You're with them. So again, I'm not opposed to tattoos, and I've toyed with the idea of getting one myself. I don't have one, but I've toyed with it. But again, every time I come down to it, I'm like, but it's forever. Any recent mass market game you've enjoyed? Well, of course, Pie Face. And actually another one, which I'll be reviewing in a couple weeks. You'll see it. I have not read the Elementals. Can you add some Dice Tower icons in a section of the website for those of us who want to print them out or otherwise use them for art, game, bling? I think I would prefer you just email me and ask and tell me what you're using it before, and then I can give you the art assets for that. Let's see. Is a poor rulebook the biggest problem a new game can have when you review it? Yeah, I think so. Poor rulebooks can really mess up a game. What do you think of the Kenner Spiel nominees, and who do you think will win it? I actually talk about that in Board Game Breakfast. Already recorded. So Monday, I'll have my Tom Thinks was about the Spiel des Jahres and my predictions for them. Let's see here. Would you consider Roll For It a good gateway game? Yes. It's super gateway. I mean, if people don't like Roll For It, and they think it's too difficult, then you know not to introduce them to pretty much any other games. Let's see here. Have you ever played any homebrew factions for Smash Up? Probably not. I wouldn't. There's already so many good factions out already. I'm not. The only time I really get into homebrew stuff is when I think that the game is finished and I still want more for that game. So let's say they Smash Up. They say, we're done. No more factions. Then I might take some homebrew factions. Like I've done that with HeroScape. HeroScape is finished, but I have Han Solo and Superman and a whole bunch of characters that some people put a ton of effort and thought into playtesting into, so I use those in my games. How would one join the Dice Tower Network? That one probably needs to be added to my FAQ, and that's pretty simple. You just email me and ask. However, realize that a lot of people do that, and I say no pretty much across the board, because we are full up. However, we will probably add a couple more podcasts this year. At the same time, though, there's many, many podcasts that I've asked, so not everyone's going to get in. What do you think of the new unicast system from Protos? Do you think those one-piece minis would entice you to buy a board game? Possibly, although they're talking about load. That whole load thing is very odd to me. That the company is owned by another company, but they didn't want to tell anybody. I'm not sure everything went down there, but I was reading the thread about it. It seemed a little fishy. Now, maybe I'm totally incorrect there, but it certainly is in my wait and see category. Let's see. Pipe ice is a game like cutting grass is a sport. Huh. I feel like there's a winner and a loser. So I'm not sure. In a sport, there's a winner and a loser. Who's the winner and loser in the cutting grass thing? I think that's not a really good analogy, actually. I can see you not liking Pie Face, and I can see you saying it's barely a game, and I certainly would agree there. But I've had a whole lot of fun doing it with pretty much everybody, so I'm okay with that. Let's see. Ooh, am I caught up on questions? I'm pretty close. I do not play board games before they're published almost ever. Occasionally I'll play a publisher's game before it's published, but like that, I played some at Cool Mini or Not and some at F2Z, but very rarely. So I almost never play Kickstarter games before they come out. Am I excited about the Suicide Squad movie? No, I'm not. I'm not excited about it either. I'm interested in it, but I don't know. I'm going to have to wait and see what the reviews are, I think, before I check that one out. A disc golf course opening June 25th at Homestead Air Reserve Park. Well, there you go. That's like 5 minutes from my house. I guess I will go try that one out. What publisher are you most excited for the releases this year? Well, so far, Cool Mini 9 and F2Z. Why? Because they're the two I've seen the most releases from. But by far, those two, right? And I mean, on a personal level, I'm excited about Arcane Wonders because I'm going to see Royals come out this year. So that's nice. Thoughts on the Game Workshop new Warhammer Quest? Will we get a review? Well, Sam's working on it right now, putting together the miniatures. I don't know if I'm going to play it with him or not. I'm certainly interested in it. The miniature thing really, really, really turns me off, though. I really like the fact that most of these games, like Descent, I don't have to worry about the miniatures. I pull them out and play. I'm more interested in the game, not interested in building miniatures, but that's what Sam likes, so I think he'll be the one reviewing Warhammer Quest. I didn't realize so many people follow my Instagram feed. Let's see. Do you sometimes have to wait to release a review if the publisher asks you to wait for a certain date? That happens occasionally, very rarely, but a publisher will say, can you wait to a specific date? This just happened recently. A publisher said to me, hey, can you wait to this date to review the game? And I said, all right, fine. And then I emailed them and said, this game just was nominated, so I would like to review this game as soon as possible since it was nominated for an award. And they said, that is fine. And so I did. But if they say wait till a certain date to review it, I would not review it ahead of time. I hope most publishers don't do that. But there are a couple publishers, I'll get things super early, and they'll say, can you wait till a certain date before I review it? Because they don't want there to be too much hype too early, because then the hype dies down before the game's even released. Will you ever have Jeff Engelstein down to do a live gaming session? Possibly. Was the name Tiny Epic really a big enough problem to take a whole slot in the top 10 list? Well, I guess it was if it did take up a slot in the top 10 list. I would never take these top 10 lists that seriously. They're fun to do, and I mean what I say in them, but they ain't the be-all, end-all. Star Wars or Indiana Jones? Depends on the mood I'm in, really. Do I have a favorite video game that I would want to see made into a board game? Oh, that's a good question. Final Fantasy Tactics, for sure. For sure. Most video games, though, don't make me think, oh, that would be a good board game. They just don't. That's why I'm not that big or care about them. Oh, if you subscribe, I will. How about we put you in timeout and you can think about the subscription. Is it worth me coming to Birmingham to see your live show at UK Gaming Expo? I can't answer that question. From what I understand, the UK Gaming Expo sounds really cool. I'm just excited to be going to England. I really am. I've never been there. It's been on my bucket list. I want to go. I've always wanted to see the sights of London. I've always wanted to I love new things. I love seeing new countries. Okay, I've seen Germany. I've seen a lot of countries over in Asia, but I've never been to England. I've never been to, I flew through Paris, but I've never been to France. I'd like to see France. I don't know, I like to see Italy. I have these things I like to do at some point, and now I have a chance to go to England. You bet I'm excited about that. I'm more excited about going to England than I am about the UK Gaming Expo. However, I am excited about that because it does sound like a big, fun, interesting expo. And there's a lot of companies there that I have not really talked to much before, so that's going to be interesting. And a lot of fans that I probably haven't run into before. So I'm thinking about wearing my cowboy hat because I heard that the English people call Americans cowboys all the time, so I figured why not fall into that stereotype. I wear cowboy hats anyway. Let's see here. My favorite classic arcade game. Wow, that's a great question. Wow, that is. I like Breakout a lot. I've always thought Breakout was a good classic arcade game. I like Tank vs. Tank. I don't know if that was an arcade game, though. I know it was an Atari game. But I don't know what you mean by classic arcade game. But like, if we go from the 90s and back, then it's the X-Men game. Oh, I love that X-Men game where you walk through and you fought Sentinels and the Blob and Magneto. I love that game. And Nightcrawler is the best person in that game. Don't even argue with me. He's the best. Colossus is the second best. And everyone else is garbage compared to those two. But I love that game. 6 players. Woo! I also really like Street Fighter a lot, too. An Elder Scrolls board game? But how could that be a board game? I don't know. It just feels like some video games aren't meant to be board games. My high score in pole position? Oh, man. I don't remember. It's been so very long since I played pole position, but, man, I did enjoy that game. You know what? I was listening to the Secret Cabal today, and they were talking about Commander Keen, and that just brought back memories. Commander Keen! Wow! Commander Keen. And you know what game I really liked was Duke Nukem. Not Duke Nukem 3D, but the original Duke Nukem, which was a 2-person side-scroller. That was a fun game. I was always a big fan of, 2-person side-scrollers, run through, jump, find stuff, get guns. Commander Keen was just super fun. I loved the theming of it. I played so much shareware as a kid that I never had the money to unlock the stuff. I played Wolfenstein that first level a billion times, never got to go fight Adolf Hitler until I was in college and someone had the whole thing. But yeah, I love those games, that shareware stuff. Those are the 3 big ones, I think. Duke Nukem, Commander Keen, and Wolfenstein. Other games that really left an impression on me, I can't remember. It was a game I had for the Commodore 64 where you were a goldfish in a bowl and you swam around, and you would try to eat other fish that were smaller than you, and you'd get bigger and bigger, and eventually a cat was sticking its arm in the bowl, and you were avoiding that. You were jumping from one bowl to the other bowl to eat the other fish. I still don't remember the name of that game. I've looked to see if there's a simulator for that game on the internet. I cannot find it. It bugs me because that's one of those classic games that I would go back and play. There was also a spaceship game where you would go through and shoot on the Commodore 64, and there's a lot of those games, Galaga and stuff, but this wasn't any of those, and I don't remember anything about this game. I just remember thinking it was amazing. We played it a lot on the Commodore 64. I do remember Montezuma's Revenge. That was a great game on the Commodore 64. Commodore 64 still probably holds a place in my heart that no other system has, because it was just, I don't know, it just like brought a new world to my door. I jumped onto the IBM PC thing, not too, I mean, you had to. You couldn't stay with the 64 forever, but 64. I'm really like rambling today. Sorry about that. Do you try to bring things home for your family when you make these trips, since they can't be with you on the trips? I do sometimes. Like Gen Con, I always try to find something for all the kids and something interesting. But I got to be careful, because, I don't want to buy junk. It always drives me nuts when someone goes and they're like, hey, I got you a keychain from Paris. Well, that's nice, and I appreciate the thought a lot, but what am I going to do with this? I already have a keychain. So I try not to buy junky stuff. I try to buy something interesting and unique if possible. So I don't always, but sometimes I do. Like when I went to Germany, I bought a whole pile of the German candy because it was cool, something they couldn't get at home. Donkey Kong? That's not really one. I was just playing Donkey Kong the other day. I forget why I was playing Donkey Kong. It was somewhere, and I was playing it, and I was thinking, man, I hate this game. I cannot beat Donkey Kong. Dig Dug? Yeah, I did like Dig Dug. Let's see here. What board game would you like to see a video game version of, if any? Descent. Dungeon Twister. How long am I going to be in England? We're going to arrive on Tuesday, and I will be there till, we'll be leaving the following Monday. Tuesday will probably be zonked. Wednesday, we're going to be traveling around London and look at different sites. So, one kind listener/viewer sent us some Tower of London tickets, so I'm definitely going to see that. So thank you. Thursday, we travel. I'll be traveling straight to the convention. Sam is going to be heading to the Games Workshop headquarters, and then we'll just, if we run into people on Thursday, we'll be hanging out. Friday, mostly hanging out. Saturday is show. And Sunday, a few shows, and then Monday we head back. Any plans on going to a football game while in the UK? I don't think we'll have time, although Sam would probably certainly like that a lot. Is Jenga a game? Yeah, why not? The cruise is not yet sold out. I believe there's only 20 rooms left, though, so it's really close. What was my favorite N64 game? Super Mario was really good. I played it through till I beat it. I never did get every star in the game, but I got a lot of them. I really love that game. And Star Fox. But those are really the only two. I only had the N64 for a year. I sold it to get enough money to buy my wife's engagement ring. And you know what? I've never once had a millionth of a regret for doing that. And I never went back and got a 64. By the time I thought about it, the GameCube was out, and then I didn't get a GameCube, so I jumped on the Wii, and the Wii was fantastic. So, why are people asking all these things as, like, are they board games? Scrabble's definitely a board game and such. Why isn't Splendor in your picture case like the other smaller games you have for your case? The box is too big and takes up space, and move my piece into a small plastic container. I suppose I could, but I like the Splendor box, so maybe not. Splendor will probably be out of my collection when Caravan comes out anyway, because I really think they fit the same thing, and I love Caravan. Still hopeful of one day seeing a Tom versus Jason in Twilight Struggle. You may see that at some point. The entire Ultima series was good in its day. Yeah, that's true. I don't know that I played many of them. I may have only played one. One game that I played, I love, was King Arthur and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Was go through and, open the door, go here and do these things. Love that game. Beat that game without the help of the internet. Yeah. Sydney wants to know, what is my favorite game I played recently? Definitely Mystic Vale. Hello, Sydney. You're 6'4". How tall is Melody? She looks like she is tall sitting next to you. I believe Melody is 5'11" currently. She and Amy are as tall as my wife are now. When is the next Verse the Internet game? Don't know. I'm not considering it right now just because we're in convention season, and so that's pretty hot and heavy, the convention season going on right now. Did you get to see CFO when you visited F2Z headquarters? I did not. I probably would have refused to see it if I could have, because I want to be totally surprised by it when I open it up. I want to go through that game with a pure and open mind. I know very little about CFO, and I'm keeping it that way because I want to get into it like, whoa, what are we going to find next? The best Sega Genesis game. There was one I played where you would turn into different... I think you were a kid and you would turn into different characters as you went through and fought. And each character had different powers. Oh, I can't remember what that game was called. No, it wasn't a kid. You put on masks. And each mask changed you somehow. And you had a different power depending on what mask you put on. Wow, I love that game. But I don't remember what it was called. Pie Face versus the Internet? Yeah. Chomp was the name of that 64 game. Yes. I wonder if that's on the internet anywhere. Chomp. Man, I like that game. Let's see here. Do you still play Dungeon Pets? Not really, but Melody keeps asking like all the time, so it's going to happen. Why do you think DC is dropping the ball as far as movie goes, especially compared to Marvel's success? I'm fairly certain, and we were talking about this, because Marvel plans them out. Marvel plans things out way ahead. Something will happen in a movie, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's why that happened in that movie 4 movies ago. You know, Thunderbolt Ross from the Hulk movie is showing up in Captain America 3 as a natural progression. It makes sense. DC, they're like, oh, let's have Superman fight Batman. Why? I don't know. Let's just do it. They force everything in one movie while Marvel builds up to things. My Team Cap or Iron Man? Definitely Team Captain America. Although, I think in the comic books, Captain America's position was much stronger. In the movie, I understand friendship, but I might have been a little bit more with Team Iron Man there. I don't know. In the movie, Captain America's argument was a little bit weaker because they didn't push. In the comic books, it was all about you have to reveal yourself and turn your identity into the government. And then they didn't talk about that much in the movie at all. Kid Chameleon. That's right. Oh, yeah. What a great game that was. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. You know, I never played that game. I got rid of the 64 before I had a chance to get it. That's why I have not played that. I never did play the Amiga. I thought about getting it. My parents convinced me to switch over to PC, and it was the right thing to do. Wow, Kid Chameleon. What a great game. You know, oh, Boy and His Blob. Oh, wow, yeah, I really like that game too. Man, these games bring back great memories. I'm curious, like, what games will bring back memories. Some of these games were like such great, fun, unique experiences. And, you know, I wonder if that's the same way that Call of Duty and those kind of games are now. I guess they are, but, you know, that whole, the reason I've always liked computer games, like I like board games because I'm with other people. I like computer games because I go in my own little world, and I play and I just discover things. And like, oh, yes, let's feed the blob a jelly bean and see what happens. And I love that. You know, and I get in my own little world, then I come back out and I play board games with other people, and they're like two different things. Nowadays, computer and video games are about playing with other people, and that's fine, but that's not why I play computer games. I played them to go off in my own little world. That's why I like things like Skyrim, because I went off in my own world, and I was the dragon shouter and all that jazz. So, okay, well, Lemon64 has commenters, emulators, and Chomp. I think I'm going to have to go check that out. Hey, guys, I appreciate you coming on. I'm actually going to have another Q&A on Monday. It will be probably 4 o'clock. It will be the last Q&A before I head to England. So I will see you guys then. Board Game Breakfast is already done being recorded. Did it at the zoo today. So I'm going to be compiling that over the weekend. And I believe our UK gaming preview went up today. There's some other reviews and things that went up. Maybe Bear Valley was one of today's. So there's more reviews going up today and stuff tomorrow. There might even be I don't remember what's going up tomorrow, but there's more videos coming all week. We got next week planned out already, so even though we're in the UK, there'll be a lot of different events and videos coming up. Guys, I really appreciate you watching. I know I did it at a time that not as many people could come and watch this at, but I appreciate the questions. I appreciate just people sticking with us through the bad audio and through the good. Hopefully the good will beat out the bad in the long run. So anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower live Q&A. See you later.